Lesson 2-3, solving multi-step equations. When we're solving multi-step equations, you want to undo each operation by working backwards. Remember that you're always trying to solve for the variable, so you want to look at what's happening to the variable and work backwards, do the opposite of whatever's happening. So the first thing we want to do in this example would be to add 4 to get to kind of undo what's happening, because right now we're subtracting 4. So if we add 4, we're undoing it. So this would go away. Whatever we do to one side of the equal sign, you always have to do to the other. So now we would end up with 11x equaled 33. And now you would know that right now the operation is multiplication. To undo that multiplication, we divide. So whatever you do to one side, you get the other. And x is 3. I would like you to always go back and check these kind of problems, because it's very easy to make just one little mistake along the way and it can change the whole answer. So you can just do it mentally. If you need to write it out, you can do that, but I just want you to plug in that 3 for x. So 3 times 11 is 33, and then if we subtracted 4, we would get 29, and your equation should be equal. Pause the video to try a few examples on your own. The first example is 2a minus 6 equals 4. So we want to figure out what is happening to the variable and undo it. So the first thing that's happening is we are subtracting 6. So to undo that, we do the opposite. So we add 6, and we add 6 on the other side. So our new equation is 2a equals 10. And now if we are multiplying, we do the opposite, so we divide. So we have a equals 5 for the first one. And if you check it, 5 times 2 is 10, minus 6 is 4. For the next example, we have a plus 7 over 8 equals 5. So we have identified the variable. We first want to get rid of the 8. So it's currently divided, so we want to multiply it. That makes the 8's go away. We multiply the other side by 8. So now we are left with a plus 7 equals 40. If you subtract 7 from both sides, that's going to equal a is 33. When we say the opposites or undo, we're talking about the opposite of an operation, how you undo it. So for example, if we have subtraction, the opposite of subtraction is addition. If you have addition, the opposite of addition is subtraction. If we have multiplication, the opposite of multiplication is division. And then if we have division, the opposite is multiplication. So whatever operation is happening to the variable, you do the opposite of what is happening to it to undo. So let's take a look at how to write and solve a multi-step equation. So for this example, it says Len read 3/4. So we're going to use that information. Of is usually multiplication. A graphic novel. So we're just going to say in for the novel. Over the weekend. On Monday, he read 22 more. More is usually plus 22 pages. If he read 220 pages, how many pages does the book have? So we're going to make it equal to the 220 that he read. So then we would be solving for n, which is the number of pages the book has. So 3/4 n plus 22 equals 220. So now here we would subtract 22 from both sides, which would leave us with 3/4 n equals 198. Now here we're multiplying by 3/4, but to do the opposite we would actually divide by 3/4. But when we divide fractions, we multiply by its reciprocal. So we're actually going to end up multiplying by 4/3. So this goes away and leaves just n. Over here we multiply by 4/3, and we get n equals 264. So if you go back and you check, you did 264 plus 22, you would get 220. Consecutive integers is when we have integers that are counting in order. When we're counting by 2, this results in all the even integers, or we call that consecutive even integers. If we start with an odd number like a 1, 3, or 5, and then count consecutive integers, those are called consecutive odd integers. Solve a consecutive integer problem. Write an integer for the following problem, then solve the equation and answer the problem. Now we're going to practice solving equations with consecutive integers. So the question says, write an equation for the following problem, then solve the equation and answer the problem. It says find 3 consecutive odd integers with a sum of negative 51. So we're going to let n represent the least odd integer, and then from there we're just going to have n plus 2 be the next integer and n plus 4 be the next integer, because if you have one integer, there's 2 between that and the next number. So for example, if we had 1 as an odd number, there's 2 places between 1 and 3. But then there's 4 places between 1 and 5, and so on and so forth. So if we were trying to solve this problem, we would have n plus 2 plus n plus 4 equals negative 51. Oh, I ran out of space. You can combine all of your n's to get 3n plus 6 equals negative 51. We can subtract 6 from both sides. So then we have 3n equals negative 57. Then we know that n is negative 19. Now this is not our answer, because they want you to tell them the 3 consecutive odd integers. So one of our answers would be the negative 19, but then we also have to solve for the second integer, which is negative 19 plus 2, which would be negative 17. And then we have to solve for the last one, which would be negative 19 plus 4, which would be negative 15. So our final answer is actually the next 3 consecutive integers. Pause the video to complete the lesson review. Make sure you show me the lesson review when you bring me your stuff for verification, so that I can verify that you've done notes and the lesson review.